Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. Brandon and Andrew here as always. Andrew, how is it going tonight, my friend?
We're doing okay. We've got a new bionic hip in, and we're working through that. I'm going through ice in November, like you wouldn't believe. So
Yeah.
that's I'm keeping the local mini mart in business, at least from the ice chest standpoint. But we're doing all right.
They're
Got
not
the
probably
30
used
year.
to, not used to all this business right now.
No. Buying ice in November, you get a lot of weird looks, to be honest with you. But overall, we're doing okay. Can't complain too much.
That's good. Good.
Yep.
Good to hear that the recovery is coming for you. You know,
Oh.
hopefully, you know, you got some big plans coming up this winter, so hopefully you can get pretty mobile for that.
Well, this is the hope, right? And couldn't have timed it any better to be able to get all this done so that race season isn't going to be affected, right? So this is wasn't timed exactly the way I wanted to, but couldn't have come out any better in some cases. So overall, good. Can't complain. Gave me a lot of time to watch stuff online.
Absolutely. That's right. So before we kick off and get right into the show, tonight's show is presented by KD Transmissions, located in Belleville, Ontario. KD can help with any and all transmission needs, help, work, updates, upgrades, everything like that. You need a truck, car, race car, whatever it is you need, KD can get you sorted out. Check them out, kdtransmissions.com for more information. Send us a message. You can find them on Facebook as well, or mainly at most most racetracks across the country, but at a lot of racetracks, Johnny's always around. So, or somebody that is involved with KD. So, you got any questions, just rip over and ask them, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. We appreciate KD always helping out with bracket life and everything else that goes on in our racing world. So, we appreciate it for sure for their continued support. If you are tuning in live, as most of you always do, we appreciate through the comments. Got a bunch already here. It's great.
Yep.
I just flipped it over. I missed some. But yeah.
Lots of people tuning in from across the country.
Absolutely. We appreciate everybody hanging out. Let us know you are hanging out, right? Just like this. We already got it, we got it started. So lots of people coming in. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you are not watching on YouTube, when the show's done, go to YouTube, sign in, hit the subscribe button, and then you can continue watching on Facebook or wherever it is you want to watch. Or if you're listening on a podcast on any of the podcast platforms, you got a spare couple minutes, log into YouTube, subscribe on there.
It always helps.
I don't know how many's on it yet, but Rachel knows, but she appreciates it, and so do I.
There you go. All right. Yeah, lots of content coming down through the winter here based on the pre-show comments. So
absolutely. We have lots of big ideas, right? And we have a lot more time on our hands now that all the race cars are parked. And that's how it goes. So Canadian Countdown, Andrew will dive into that. First and foremost, second annual Winter Rumble Practice Tree Challenge coming up February 3rd. Yeah, February.
Yep.
February 3rd, 2024 in Belleville. Check that out. Any questions, message me, message Bracket Life, whatever. I know it was a great time last year. Hopefully we get everybody back out and a bunch more, and we can have some fun doing that. Break up the winter a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a nice time of the year to just get out and do something racing related. Just still a little bit of time before you have to get back at the track at that point. But boy, February that could be a long 28 days.
You are correct. Correct.
So from there, I guess we'll kick into the rest of the countdown too. So Canadian Drag Racing Hall of Fame. We've last year we highlighted of another contingent of Canadian racers that went in. This past weekend, I think, is when they had their is it inauguration? No, it's not inauguration. It's induction. Thinking of the wrong I words here, right? So they had their induction. A lot of local Ontario legends take it in this year, but a good haul from across Canada. Neil Armstrong, who is the general manager for Toronto Motorsports Park, Hugo Dragway, depending on which era you race there at, and may remember that name under, was inducted. Rob and Bob Atchison of the Alcohol Funny Car. Bob Atchison is had many years of experience before his son Rob became very infamous from the IHRA Alcohol Funny Car days, multi-time world champion. Great to see the father and son take it in. Not the only father and son inductees in this as well. Roger Bateman. I don't know Roger as well. I didn't get a chance to really kind of get a background on every one of the inductees on it. Chris Bureau, RPM Magazine. For those who've seen the magazine or seen some of the RPM events over the years, Chris has been a big influence on the drag racing world. Coast to coast, I believe. I think they've had influence all over the place. They've done some events in the U.S. as well, but RPM Magazine's been a big name in and around Ontario for many years. Super stock racer Doug Box, Sharon Fletcher from the Fletcher Brothers family. They owned and operated Toronto Motorsports Park, Cayuga Dragway, Toronto or Cayuga International. There was a few names there during the 80s and 90s. I can't quite remember them all. And then later, London Motorsports Park. They were the ones that brought the John Force show to town for quite a few years, for those who remember that. Don Henderson and Wayne Huber. The other father and son contingent, Bruce A. Mellenbacher and Bruce F. Mellenbacher. So the Mellenbachers, you can see the kind of ongoing theme of Cayuga Dragway coming up here. The Mellenbacher family operated the track for many years through, I want to say, the 70s. I'm not sure, into the 80s. Bruce F. Mellenbacher, better known for the PMRA Quick 32 contingent, running a very successful series through the 2000s. And then they're starting actually up again, I believe, the Extreme, or is it the Quick 32 running out of Empire. They've had some dates down there. So Bruce A and Bruce F have had a lot of influence over the years over racing in Ontario, Canada. Tim Miller inducted. Tim is a writer, has written a lot of magazines, into a lot of papers and columns for articles all over Canada. Another father and son, Barry Payton and Todd Payton of the Payton Top Fuel team. They've had years and years of success through many ranks of racing, from Alcohol Funny Cars. Most recently, obviously, the Top Fuel Dragster that they operate, which will be coming up again in kind of some of the later notes here. But Barry passed away just a little over a year ago, and very influential member of the racing world. So good to see him and his son get in. Pat Reynolds and Carl Skura. And that was the list for the 2023 Canadian Drag Racing Hall of Fame inductees.
I love it. It's cool to see. It's awesome. I don't usually find out about these events until later on, but I'd love to at some point be a part of it and check it all out, because it is a huge honor. Yeah. I think it doesn't get highlighted enough in what we do for it, but something I definitely need to learn more about. And you know, congratulations to everybody that is, you know, and has been inducted over the years. It is, like, as I just said, a huge honor, and I hope those people, everybody else, understands what it means to those folks who invested so much of their life into this sport that we all love.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's really cool to have it highlighted in that way.
No, very much an honor, and it's incredible when you see some of the names that come up every year. Like, again, I've been paying attention for a few years. A good friend of ours, Bill Richards, kind of has kept me informed on it over the years, right? Long before it kind of hit some of the larger radars that are out there. I think probably a special shout out to John Scotty from Montreal. John is one of the biggest supporters of the NHRA National Open Series in Canada, supports stock, super stock, but is just a general race fan. It is his backing that kind of has the Hall of Fame operational, right? It's, I think, held at his, I want to say it's Lamborghini Museum, but it might just be European Sports Car Museum. Yeah,
but I think it's one of the dealerships that they're hanging
out. Yeah, but big shout out to him because I know he's a big part of this, right? But it's a very special deal. Great to see all these folks get in. Some great names that have made it in, and I'm sure next year will be the same. There'll be a long list of just truly influential folks. So look forward to seeing it again next year. And as I said, maybe one of these days making a trip out there and seeing it. So I know the National Open Championship's supposed to be tagged in with this. So
it is, yes.
Win a Super Comp championship, and you're going to have an invite anyway.
That's it. That's it. Simple as that. Talking about some famous families and Hall of Fame inductees. Some are a family that I'm unsure if Ron is in the Hall of Fame yet or not, but a family that has three members that I'm sure will all be a part of this at some point. And the Brunet family went to the World Cup finals from Maryland International Raceway this past weekend. Brunet is obviously running Naperville Dragway. Ron and then his sons Nick and Carl. Carl driving resets the four-cylinder world record at the World Cup finals, 582.8 at 242 miles per hour with four cylinders. And that thing is flying. We watched a bunch of it actually over the weekend, checking it out. One of the YouTube channels has all the qualifying runs and eliminations they post once it's done. So we watched a bunch of that, and really cool to see them do well, as they always do, right? Every time they seem to go, they set the bar a little bit higher for them. And then Neil Armstrong, actually, we just talked about Neil being inducted. Ron Brunet is in one of the first, so very deserving there into the Canadian Drag Race Hall of Fame. So that's a cool deal. Good for them. Love to see more stuff from them. I'm not sure if they carried on to Orlando this weekend. Sometimes they do. Yep. There's a street. Is it the
World Streetcar Nationals, I believe?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes
there's a few Canadians down there, so they do occasionally keep hauling down the coast there and end up in Florida, which isn't a bad idea. So
not a terrible one. Not a terrible one. So we'll see. We'll get some results from there coming up, and then the next show we'll be able to talk about that. Moving through WDRA National Top 10, we talked about some results 2 weeks ago, just confirming everything. Samantha Chatwood, number 3 in the world for junior dragster. Kevin Knight in box ET is number 4. Rod Gomes, box ET, number 7. They had their final slots or spots put in and selected their numbers they can run next year. That's a really cool deal. I would love to have a significant single-digit number on the side of my race car, right? I could just go put number 1 on it tomorrow, but it's not as cool as when it means something, right?
Just won't be the same per se, right?
yeah, exactly. So good for them. Good for that. Those all getting confirmed. We were speculating on what spot they were going to sit in 2 weeks ago. Now it's all set up, so that's exciting. And then you spoke a little bit earlier about the NHRA Canadian National Open Championship. The dates are finally announced. Toronto Motorsports Park, May 17th to 19th. Naperville Dragway, July 19 to 21. Miramichi, August 2 to 4. And then the following weekend is Cape Breton. So there'll be a back-to-back there. And then Toronto Motorsports Park, August 30th to September 1st. And the following weekend, Naperville Dragway once again. So those are the 6 events.
12 races total.
Yeah. If you didn't get those dates, go on NHRA Canadian National Open Series on Facebook. They have it all. Lots of people shared it. So lots of information out there to see.
Yeah. And more to come
deal.
too.
More to come.
To Glenn Groen earlier this week. Actually, he called me up and we were chatting a little bit about it. And he's got a lot of plans, a lot of ideas they're going to throw at this that I think are going to make this a little different and a little bit special, particularly for the Canadian marketplace, right? But they're really invested in this, and it's been a while since I've seen this level of commitment coming from the tracks. Because there's multiple tracks involved on this, but from the NHRA, Canadian contingent and NHRA in general, right? Division 1. This I think is shaping up to be something that could be really special, really fun, right? And looking forward to seeing it. Seeing a lot of names already online that were commenting, asking, what's involved, how do we get in it? That certainly were surprises to me. And this, can only snowball and grow from here, right? It's a long off season, so it's going to be interesting to see what else they come up with and how they complement the rest of what they've already built. So,
absolutely, I'm excited to get more details for it. I have been working on shaping a schedule around for 2024. So I think that for sure there's going to be 3 of these events put on my calendar for it, and maybe some top drags or maybe some super comp action, and like I said 2 weeks ago, if I happen to find a way into a super gas situation, then I go 990 as well. But
If something just falls out of the air, I won't
yeah,
not say no, right? So
exactly. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for it. It'll be something different,
Yeah.
and then something you can finally, I think, take a little bit seriously.
Yeah.
Right. For a long time, I kind of watched the National Open stuff, and I'd never actually attended a race before, but I'd seen lots about it, and I'm like, I don't really know, because like I wasn't, going to an NHRA national events, like the grade points and stuff didn't really appeal to me and whatnot at that point. But now with a series and something a little more, prestigious and worth chasing, I think it's a cool opportunity for people that want to try something new. I really think it's a great opportunity moving forward. So
yep,
see what happens.
absolutely. So from there, we'll jump into some news, some racetrack news from out west. So Saskatchewan International Raceway just caught wind of this week. They've got a new AccuTime system installed ahead of the 2024 season. So they've had a chance to get it all put in, working the bugs out of it, getting a handle on the computer. So it's exciting news for everyone racing around the Saskatchewan International that there'll be a new system for them to be able to operate and hit the ground running with it. Racetracks getting sold. It's always a bit of a worry. It's always one of those subjects that feels touchy, but certainly doesn't sound like bad news in this case. So which track out west got sold there?
Rad Torque Raceway, after 26 years with the ownership of the Reeves family, has now been sold. Glenn Stenaba, I'm taking a guess at that one. Glenn, I apologize if you're jumping on here and listening. If I got it wrong, let me know. We want to learn more about it. We wish Glenn, the best, and the Reeves family the best as well in their new ventures, wherever this may take them. That was a cool deal. I got the opportunity a couple years ago to go out there and race at Rad Torque Raceway. So it was an awesome little spot. Total different feel to it, I guess, for what I'm used to, which was, just more with the daylight all day. But it was a cool time. So I'd love to get back there sometime. And like you said, that's a scary time for this when you hear about racetracks being sold, because then, did whatever Walmart buy it and then turn it into a parking lot, or whatever companies that are doing whatever they are with the racetrack land right now. So good that a motorsports enthusiast bought the track, and there's so much that can go on there, right? I think when I was reading through, they used to have a motocross track, I guess, but there is a stock car track, I think, to the one side, road course, and then the drag strip down the middle. So there's lots that can be used there, and lots of opportunity for it. So
true motorplex, right? So it's
so hopefully that keeps up, and good for them. We wish them all the best, and would love to be involved or up to date and keep everybody informed as to what's happening there to keep it growing.
Absolutely. So we'll shift gears, stay out west, and pick up on the NHRA. So we talked about this last week. We had Mike Konopacki from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. I don't know why I need to say it like that. We watch too much American racing, right? And that's my problem.
We do because we have to. Yeah.
But
they know that they're from Canada.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like just that's where the brain tells me to go. Mike won the NHRA Division 1 motorcycle class. Got the golden ticket to head down to run for the Motorcycle World Championship. Got all the way down to the finals. Lost a close final round race to finish second in the world. Absolutely amazing trip by all intents and purposes. Talking a little bit with his son Adam today, and throughout the last weekend a little bit. Great experience. Mike got some time on NHRA television. They did an interview with him as they talked about a few of the champions. I think they interviewed the pro champion before the pro championship was awarded, right? So it was kind of neat to hear the conversations with him, and got to speak to number 2 in the world before he became number 2 in the world. But congratulations to Mike. Expected him to do great things, and he absolutely did. No disappointment in finishing second, because that was by far a very difficult Sunday to get a handle on anything. If anyone watched that racing on the NHRA broadcast, round 1 was for everyone just a wild pick'em on dial-ins, and it didn't get any better through round 2, and I think round 3 it finally stabilized a bit. But that's a long, long day. But congratulations to Mike. We're really proud to see how you did. Keep your head high, because that's an awesome accomplishment, and do it all over again and head back out next year. So
That's it.
other championship that Canadians were involved in, Pro Modified, Fuel Tech Pro Mod. Justin Bond rolls into the weekend second, ends up finishing second, but a wild points chase that took place there. Mike Castellana ends up coming around from third to take the championship. I believe he won the race as well, but points leader Chris Thorne wrecked in round one, which opened the door for Justin and Mike to have a chance at battling it out over who would be the champion. End of the day, Castellana goes to the final round. Justin bows out, finishes second. So great year for them. Awesome to see them battling all year long to, for a points championship. Look forward to seeing them next year going after it. Top Fuel, Rob Flynn. I believe we've had a few conversations about Rob and his tuning abilities on the Scrappers Top Fuel team, but tunes Mike Slanus to a Top Fuel win, puts them back into the points hunt for the Top Fuel World Championships going into Pomona. I believe it puts them 76 points behind Torrance, and it's 150 points on the board, plus all the little qualifying points through qualifying itself and then qualifying positions. So they are within striking distance if the cards fall right on Sunday by the sounds of it. So congratulations to Rob. And I guess last, that tees up Pomona a little bit. Lots going on there. It said we got Rob Flynn and the Scrappers team in the hunt for a world championship. Peyton, Top Fuel team, which we talked about earlier, is going to be heading out there with Spencer Hyde, World Series of Pro Mod champion, making his professional debut, being backed by Elite Motorsports. If this isn't something to watch, I don't know what is. This is going to be a fantastic weekend to pick up on. But Spencer will be making his Top Fuel professional debut in the NHRA. He's wheeled the car a few times at some exhibition races, the Peyton car, but this will be his first time in an NHRA circuit race. Going to be really exciting to see how they mix it up and maybe play spoiler. That car in Vegas was making really good hits and consistently good hits. And sometimes that's just all you need to do is just go A to B. So this is going to be awesome to see. Would love to see him mix it up and, to be honest with you, be the guy that helped decide a world championship for somebody, right? So that would be fun.
Absolutely. And I think that car's got, I think that dragster has a little bit more in it. I think that they can, with Pomona being at the end of the line, I think there's an opportunity for them to really, lay it all out there and see what that car can really do.
Yep.
And with Spencer, it'd be cool to see that thing really roll it and see the Peyton car with Spencer driving, have some success. So
absolutely,
we'll be watching.
Yep.
I know I will be.
Absolutely.
That's we got a cool comment here, Andrew. I don't know if you had read it yet from Adam Konopacki there. Mike Salinas was taking test hits on a pro stock bike on Monday following Vegas. So that's interesting.
Absolutely.
You would think that a Top Fuel dragster is kind of the pinnacle of where you can go. I'm not sure what's scarier.
Bike.
A Top Fuel dragster, a pro stock bike. I'm not a bike guy at all.
No.
So I like that makes me pretty nervous.
I have a lot of fears about jumping on bikes and going fast. I would strap myself in a Top Fuel car because the key part is you're strapped inside of something. On a bike. You're simply just holding on for dear life. And I am not all about that. So, but his daughter runs a pro stock motorcycle. He's got a Suzuki deal there. And I think they run under the Smith banner. So, interesting that Mike was riding it. So appreciate that, Adam. Thanks for the input on that, because certainly did not catch that. So intriguing.
Absolutely.
And then I guess we'll finish with Vegas. So the divisional was this past weekend. Lots of Canadians made their way down. Like, again, all our Western Canadian friends who run in class racing were at the national event. Many hung around for the divisional as well. One notable one was Sean Cowie. Sean he does well at Vegas. It's one of those tracks that historically you just see he goes down there, and regardless of where it is in the world championship mix and who's there, he does well. The 8-car divisional, so they go from a 16-car national to an 8-car divisional, every car in the field was in the 520s or faster. Like, this was personal best record territory to cut into this field. Sean paced the field with low ET, 516 with an 8, 278.92, and takes the win over former pro stock motorcycle world champion Angel Sampi, who's jumped into the top alcohol dragster world and has done well for herself with some round wins at the divisional or the national event, and then her first final round on the divisional level. But Sean picking up the W for all us Canadians, and
That's flying too. That's crazy.
and that's
516 at 278, almost 279.
and it's an altitude track like Vegas. I mean, it was probably cold. It was cold for the national. Like it was, not a warm weekend. Again, if you were there, you know it, and if you were watching, you can see jackets, and that's usually not a jacket type place, right? But to be that quick, that high up, it's impressive, very impressive, and
That's cool.
stellar. And to be able to walk away from that, I mean, a lot of great cars stuck around. There's a lot of great cars in Top Alcohol Dragster now. It's one of those classes that has quickly developed into a super competitive field full of people. I mean, when you've got Tony Stewart, Angel Sampi, I mean, and then every other person who's been banging on, their heads against walls trying to figure out how to go fast in that class, all coming together. It's almost a pick 'em come Sunday, right?
It is. It's really cool to watch. I love learning more about it and seeing more, right? Getting to experience it a little bit and understand what's going on. It's a really cool deal.
Yep.
And underrated in the competition that there is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you see people jump out of there? I mean, there's a lot of top fuel pilots who've come out of the Top Alcohol ranks, and especially the A fuel. I mean, particularly the A fuel side, right? Because it's really the training ground to jump into a fuel funny or a fuel dragster, right? Done well and taken very little time to do well once they've jumped up from it. So it's a great place to watch, and just the seasoned veterans that run around in that class that, take a few years, figure out a combo and then come back and they're dominant. It's really a fun place to watch some great talent.
Absolutely. So Andrew, we will dive into our main discussion tonight. Tonight we are focused on live streams.
Yeah.
And watching, we just had some ideas of it. Andrew came up with it a little bit because there's so many different options and ways to watch drag racing now, and then comparing them all to it. Well, I want to see which one we like.
Well, and I thought it was a great discussion. It was one of those things that just, again, being laid up a little bit, trying to figure out what to watch while there's nothing to do, and I do not idle well, so I need something of interest to figure this out. It was amazing when I went through kind of a list of all the live streams, because I found myself on Saturday and Sunday just jumping from one to the other, seeing who's broadcasting something, and that's when I kind of shot a message along saying, there's a lot of stuff that we have now. I mean, between Motor Mania TV, which has pretty much been the the original broadcaster, right? Online broadcaster free on YouTube, to the NHRA Pro Stream, which we have alluded to and talked about. They have the NHRA Sportsman Streams, which happen on the NHRA Pro Stream platform, the NHRA.TV, but also take place on, things like NHRA D1 TV. There used to be a D3 TV, right? Which were YouTube oriented. NHRA does broadcast some of the divisional stuff on YouTube as well. You got Bang Shift, Drag Racer TV, Gallstar. And then you've got some neat ones, right? Flow Racing, right? That do basically it's like a pay-per-view type setup where you can do the subscription. Lotto Racing, that's where the World Cup comes in, PDRA. And then local ones, Rad Torque, right? You can watch racing from Rad Torque. Lots of times I've seen the live subscription feed come up, or notification on my phone, which if you subscribe to the Bracket Life broadcast, you'll get the same notification when we go live or new content comes up. But you see come up and there's Rad Torque running away. Mission Raceway, right? Lord Co TV. Spoke to Jessica Armstrong a bit this week, who works in marketing for Mission out there. And she was telling me a bit about their strategy with their online. Because again, this was a local in-house deal, right? So it's not one of the large platforms like you would see with Motor Mania. And I mean, this is kind of just touching the surface, because like Las Vegas has their own live stream. They do it themselves. NHRA will tap into it when they need to. But it was just one of those things where there's just so many angles you can get now. And it's kind of incredible how much it's grown from that. Right. And so it started to break down to, I think this is a neat conversation to see all the different things about it. Right. Cause the upsides, the downsides, like what you like about it and what you don't. Cause I started to put a list together of all the things what you like about each one of them. Right. So when you go through that list, right, and see the depth on it, there's some great stuff you get out of it. Like the NHRA Sportsman coverage. As weird as it is to say at times, cause I've not been the biggest NHRA lover of all time, right? And I think I've made that known. At the same time, they've done some great things. Their platform coverage is is fantastic. Like from a sportsman angle, and I'll use that because the pro coverage piggybacks a lot of what the TV coverage is covering, right?
Yeah.
Their sportsman coverage has been great. Like you get actual numbers on screen. You can see the live feed. They're using the pro announcers, right? You're getting the benefit of the best angles and some of the professional style cameras. There's some, Motor Mania, I think, does a little bit better on their finish line angles on things, right? Like they're set up perched at the finish line watching stuff come at you. Whereas NHRA's, they've got 2 finish lines they're trying to cover at 1,250, and they're kind of set up somewhere in the middle sometimes. But I mean, they've got really honestly probably one of the best sportsman coverage packages. I'll sit down on Saturday morning and watch round 2 or 3 or whatever they're picking up at, and Super Gas or Super Stock or whatever's up there, and it's fantastic, right? It's second to none in my opinion, and that's where I think they've set a bar a bit, right? In the sportsman coverage world, albeit
Absolutely.
budgetary wise, they certainly should be the one setting the bar, right?
Yeah. I agree so far. Like for everything that you've talked about, Motor Mania is a good one because Motor Mania has different options as well that I've seen. Because you can break that down, and we kind of have it marked off here, right? Motor Mania has a general broadcast that they do, right? And that's like, it's a great broadcast, right? They have the starting line, and then a couple different solid cameras, and they have the camera that moves with it. And then they also will work with such as like the fling events. They'll run all the commercials, right? Which I believe that still is the Motor Mania crew running those. Like they had to play each and every one, so they have to stay on top of it. That's a lot more work. During the day, especially with downtime and in between, and keeping those up with those segments. And trying not to just repeat the same ones.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, and
so there's a lot that goes into that makes a huge difference as well. But like I said, NHRA, the sportsman stuff has set
it's set a bar like
to a certain degree. Set it right.
And and that's, I think, one of the things, like, I mean, and each one of these, it's kind of fun when you go through it, like each one of these, like Bang Shift. I mean, I think it's Chad Reynolds. I know it's Chad like they were one of the ones that, Motor Mania and Bang Shift were kind of the first 2 YouTube oriented live broadcasters. And it certainly had a little bit of a grittier feel to it, just because it was one guy doing everything from, a scissor lift located somewhere beside the side of the track. Right. But that feel almost had that, you're sitting in the grandstand feel, right? You chase the cars down the track, reset after you looked at the scoreboards and go back. His interactions on the downtime, like I love that. He doesn't audio, he doesn't commentary on anything until all of a sudden there's nothing to talk about, and then now it's one-on-one with the Bang Shift creator, right? Which always sounds fun.
And that's how he started. He started in the stands, right? I remember watching the early shakedown at E-Town stuff, and then when they moved the shakedown in Norwalk, stuff like that for the pro mod deals, like he would have like a couch set up in the grandstands, and then just do his camera and move it, and like I said, then just turn around and talk to you, and then do his thing. Like, but that was the initial start for it, and he still hosts all the fling stuff in Vegas.
Well, that's
when the Spring Fling Million goes on, and Bang Shift is the one that presents that, because that's a ways to.
Well, and that's
Motor Mania to travel.
I think that's a conjoined effort too, which is kind of another neat one, right? Because that's I think Bang Shift. I'm not sure if is it Motor Mania. Like it's Warren Evans, which is Drag Racer TV. With Bang Shift, with Gallstar. I think he's had some involvement too. Like it's a multi-level production, right? And it's like, and you get a little bit of all like flavors from each one of those, right? Which, when you want to pick out something specifically, like favorite events to kind of watch before I kind of usurp the whole list here, right? Like the fling events have become, specifically on whatever platform they're on, a very great, like a very entertaining race. Like even when it's down and it's slow and there's 15 minutes between rounds because stuff's happening, right? Like there's downtime now. They do a good job with it. But like PDRA on Flow, like Flow Racing, right? That was one that was a broadcast that I had criticalness with, because it was basically a paid version of something that was already getting for free better, right? Until they've
Yeah.
got their production value up, and they've done better with it, right? Like I watch a lot of PDRA on there, particularly with a lot of the Canadians who run the PDRA now. It's just an easy format to watch it on and pay attention to what's going on, right? Pay-per-view, you certainly pay for a lot with it, but at the same token, if you're bored and want to watch some World of Outlaws racing, right, Flow Racing's got you covered on that end too. It's got a little bit of everything, so neat on that end. But I mean, a lot of one-off type events, right? You get your duck races on there if you can handle the downtime from pre-prepping the track for the 37th time, right? But and some personalities. Like, I think they've done well with that one. Like when you get like the Don O'Neill, right? Courtney Enders. I mean, that's where their values really kicked in, where it's entertaining because you've got these people wandering around in the pits, doing live interviews, catching up, flat out. We watch Courtney Enders wander around and all of a sudden finds Lyle Burnett or, Stevie Fast, and they're just chatting away because there's downtime. Like, this is quality, right? This is the type of stuff that, the motorsports world you have to kind of deal with because of the fact you have weird downtimes, right? You don't have set downtimes like you do in, normal sports, right? Like, puck, ball, or football, right? Where we're going to go for 20 minutes and then stop, and you'll have small commercial breaks between whistles. Like, guy who owns the track front to back, you have an intermission now. You've got to fill it. So Flow does a great job with that. Particularly, again, when you get into the tandem aspects to it, I enjoy that part, right? Like, they do find some multi-screen, person interaction, which again has a great production value to it, right? That has a feel like you would get on mainstream motorsport stuff, right?
Yeah, and then that justifies kind of the expense that comes along with it, right? Those ones that, like I said, now like at the start of it, maybe it wasn't always worth it for the production that was getting shared to you, but now they've really added that value for it. And Flow is a large platform and has a lot to offer for different things as well. So that's a separate kind of part of it. My favorite kind of stream or event that it was to watch was, I think, the Great American Bracket Race.
Yeah.
The first million one they did. I think that might have been the only Great American Million they did. But it was all these kind of things put together. I think Clay Milliken was there doing interviews throughout the event. Like when they got down to 16 cars, I want to say, I can't remember if he was interviewing losers of the round or winners of the rounds, because the winners would be in a hurry to get back to the pits. So I think he was talking to some guys that lost late in the race. Now, you're disappointed in the loss, but at that point, I believe there was a fairly heavy split made. So you're a little, that softens the blow a little bit.
I'm thinking,
right? Yeah. So they had Clay Milliken interviewing all these guys after the round or in between rounds and stuff like that at the bracket race, which is cool. And Clay's a huge personality. Doesn't matter top fuel car or not, right? Just him as a person's fun. I think like Jake Hodge was doing it then as well with them, and they were doing that both. That's kind of the next thing is the announcing on these streams that make the difference. I think as well, because you can have as nice of a video quality and video production as you want. If I cannot sit there and stand to listen to the event because of who is talking on there, then I just got to shut it off.
It's tough. Yeah. There are some events, like, like I've watched it. I thought, okay, like this is going well. It's an interesting event. It's something you're tied in on, and the announcing just does not fit the, level of what you're expecting to watch. Right. And I never will be critical of an announcer in my life, because you put I have sitting here as a mic in front of me right now, but to read numbers off screens quickly, to tell a fast story about what just took place and any sort of back history that's relevant, that is a quick thinking job that I am probably not set up to do very well. But at the same token, you can really feel when one's a miss, right? And that can be a tough, look. There's been some big events over the years you watch and you're excited about, and it's a turn off with the voice. And you get it in pro sports as well. I mean, if you ever watch a Super Bowl and you hear the announcers that are going to do it, and you're just, I'm going to put this on mute and captions on, right? Like, it happens, but it can be tough, right? Particularly when you get into like the inside joke style of announcing, right? Like, it's tough. And I admit, like, you're trying to I guess, pander to two audiences, right? Because you've got the audience at the racetrack that you're announcing for. It's not like there's, there's not a live stream announcer and then a racetrack announcer. It's the same person trying to do both jobs. But boy, can it be tough some days when you're feeling like you've just walked in on a conversation and you've missed the first half of it. And it's like that all the time, right? Whether it's someone looking at the chat board, not telling you what the person said, and they're just responding to it, and you have no idea what context is for anything that's being said, to just, flat out being too local, right? And I don't understand that, and that happens quite a bit, and that can be a tough deal, right? I'm not sure what's worse, that or dead air, right? Those are sometimes the things that are a little bit difficult to deal with. You tune into something, you don't know what's going on. There's a little bit of info on the screen, say track maintenance, but those are tough looks, right? So
what are we doing? Yeah, exactly. It makes a huge impact on it for sure. And people need to, not everybody realizes that you're choosing announcers or things like that. And as we said, that is a hard job to fill. And those, I don't want to say there's less great announcers, because I feel like right now there are a lot of awesome announcers for a lot of live stream events, and guys that are going back and forth through different brands, kind of. I know like Alan Reinhart, NHRA guy, one of the best announcers ever, and then he was doing the Bristol Fling. I was Bristol Fling or
Columbus.
Columbus.
Yeah, we had him at Columbus.
Like, and just a guy that knows everything, right? And is a really real professional at it. And then you have Loans did the SFG Million, right? NHRA guy did the bracket race. When he started it, I want to say like the Wednesday that it started, it was a little rough to listen to, Didn't really have all the ins and outs figured. But then by the end of the weekend, he was on it and had it. And that's just what the pros do. Jed Pennington doesn't announce as much anymore, but has other things going on in life. But set that whole bar for the other type of announcers, right? Reinhardt and Loans do it one way, and then Jared started doing it his other way. That sparked a whole new trend of announcers. And these platforms that we spoke about having the best productions usually have the best announcers, because those are our favorite to listen to. That's any Fling event that goes on. I'm not sure who does the PDRA stuff. I honestly haven't heard any. Most. But I think most of the flow stuff is just per track.
Yeah, it depends on, because again, there's more singular events, right? But you're absolutely right. And you see, you look at the Fling. We've been kind of pulling it out specifically, but one that we're more comfortable with or know more about. I mean, they make a big deal about who is coming. Like, that's part of the sell for that race, whether you're going or you're going to watch, is you're going to listen to Alan Reinhart for NHRA Alan Reinhart. I remember the ads for that. We actually got excited on our way to the race. Like, we're sold, we're on the road, the diesel's in the tank and the groceries are bought, and we're like, oh my God, we get to listen to Alan Reinhart for the next 4 or 5 days. Now, mind you, he wasn't there for 24/7, right? He was spelled in and out as needed, but this was a selling point. Now, if you're at home, this is even more of a selling point, right? Because I think he did a fantastic job with it. In fact, I picked up a few things at that race and went back to the NHRA, and I heard the little mannerisms and the little things he picked up or did at Columbus that ended up over on the NHRA broadcast, which was kind of fun to listen to that develop, right? But
and those guys that are the best too, when, as you spoke about getting excited for being there, it's exciting to know that those guys are going to talk about you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That was a big one. I know when I went, when I went to the Million the first time, and then that was my first race, and Jared Pennington is going to announce my runs. For me, and I'm like, and that was I was 22 a while ago now. It's wild that it's been 5 years, but I'd go back through YouTube and I'd watch all those, and then you listen to the way they talk about it, and then you get excited for it. So that's cool as well. And just is part of the whole experience. And like I said, we have hit on the Flings a lot. Mainly because we're comfortable with it, partly because they are
Yeah.
the best promotion in bracket racing today.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
so as a whole, so really cool. A lot to learn from that, but so many different things that other people bring to the table. We kind of we talked a little bit earlier about the Gallstar stuff.
Yeah.
When I don't know if you watched Thomas Gall's production of his events, but he had 3 moving cameras, I think.
Yeah.
Like I think he had 5 cameras total, but 2 or 3 of them were moving from all different angles and we're switching all the way down the racetrack. Like it was a really cool deal. So
it felt like a big production, right? Like it, and not the downsides at all. I'm sure it was a big production, right? But like, this is the type of thing you would expected to have seen from, the ABCs, like, the large company type deal, right? Because that, I guess technology has caught up so much for us to make it so much easier to access such great stuff. I mean, I remember we used to do a live stream with the DSE series. So 2012, 13, 14, 15. We did a live stream from the tower hooked up to the mic. It was a single point camera hooked up to a laptop that, to be frank, I set up at 15 minutes before the first class made a time trial and told anyone in the tower, if it goes down or something goes funny, yell at me. It was unmanned. We just hooked it up and let it go, right? But we had it hooked up to, I think it was 1320 Go. I believe
think
it was
so,
a telemetry.
yeah.
So we had, telemetry with a single point view. Now, fortunately, Toronto Motorsports Park has a great tower in that you can see starting line to finish line from a single point perspective. So you can set it up. But I mean, that was 10, 11 years ago, right? So as far technology has come, I mean, I'm sure the stuff that I thought was cutting edge and able to do back then, which was fairly simplistic, to be quite frank with you, right? What, Tom is able to do with Gallstar is that type of stuff now, right? Because that's stuff you can go online and buy. So it's amazing to see that. And I think that's maybe one of the things to, when you talk about there like things to improve, like the level of technology that we see now in the world and the accessibility to it. You can buy first rate type stuff with now for what seems like so much easier than you could years ago. Like you would have had to have professional cameras. I looked at buying professional cameras that had motion trackers to try to deal with it. And I was like, that's not inside a budget of reality, right? Security cameras now are almost good. You go to Empire Dragway. I've been in the tower up there. It's actually kind of funny. They have a lot of security cameras at Empire. It's just the system they have, right? Good business. Now you have a lot of security cameras. Every one of them's up in the tower in the main VIP room. 3 of them are on the track. You think you're actually watching a production. You hook up the announcing to it, which is happening in the room beside you. So you're actually getting an authentic stereo effect because the person on the other side of the wall is the person talking, right? And there's security cameras, right? Now they don't do a live stream. This is simply just if you're in the VIP room at Empire Dragway, you get to see every angle of the racetrack, plus the pits, plus everything else, which is kind of fun sometimes when you're watching the lanes fill and empty and you can see who's coming up in matchups before they're on the starting line. AKA maybe that might be something to add at some point, right? But maybe that's just for the hardcore guys like ourselves. But, it doesn't take as much, right? So.
Exactly. So, Andrew, we'll wrap it up. We'll hit it with some pros, some cons, some things we need to improve. I think we'll start. We
wish list, maybe. This is the best way to put it. Right?
Yeah. Something we didn't talk about enough was the numbers from the run data being put on the screen. Yeah. That's a Drag Racer TV thing that mainly does that. NHRA does it as well. When we went to Mid Michigan for World Super Pro Challenge a couple of years ago now, then saying like that was the production that was set up, and then it had had the cameras go, and then it had the results come up on the screen, which is I think that's huge. Yeah. The Fling does that now in Vegas is the main. I'm not sure they do it anywhere else.
I don't.
New Michigan Way has kind of 2 screens on there, so like they have the main screen as similar to your setup you had that points at the track, down track, and there in the bottom corner it has the screen just showing the results and the time slips as it comes up on the screen that they would see. That's a big one. That's cool. Yeah. I love to see that.
We play a numbers game.
You learn something,
right? Like, I mean, when you're watching something like World Cup, like this past weekend, or if you're watching Pro Modified or Top Fuel, I mean, you're watching
Yeah.
for the excitement of what the pass is. Like first car to the finish line is going to win. The numbers are great, but you can depict the entire story based on what took place. Bracket
For
racing,
sure.
class racing, index racing. The story can be seen, but the story can be totally different depending on what those numbers are. Like the numbers are important, right? Now, a
For
good
sure.
announcer gets it across, well, right? But it's one of those things. I mean, if I had a wish list, which is maybe what we're talking about here, I would love to see numbers. I want to hear the announcer talk about the race, but I'd love to see the numbers, right? That is I feel an important part that kicks up. I want to see what the mile an hour was. It's great to see that someone went 2 over. It's amazing to see someone go 2 over scrubbing 12, perceivably 12.
Yeah.
Like that type
Exactly.
there's only so much time you have to announce stuff. I would rather the announcer focus on telling me things I can't pick up on or that's going on, right? Or just the story of what the next, pair is coming. If it means I can decipher the little things better, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, sometimes you can't tell if they're down 12. So you don't want to say that out loud. Well, let the scoreboard come up and I'll make my own conclusions, rightfully or wrongfully, right?
Yeah,
Based on
exactly.
that.
Yeah. One other, or the next one, I guess, is just for more streams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We just need more tracks doing it, more events doing it. You talked about in Canada right now, Rad Torque does it, Mission does it.
Yeah. Missions is the most
Nowhere
impressive
else.
too. Like if you look at, and again, talking to Jessica, like they've got drones, they've got multi-angles, right? Like, and they do their big events. Like one of the things I talked to her about is like, you ever get worried about the fact that if you're broadcasting your big events like Door Wars, or Smoke, Fire and Thunder, which is, like the large production show, I'm like, that people are staying home. And her response was, no, we're able to show people that you should come. Like this is
Why you should be
this
here.
is exactly
Yeah.
it. They're not afraid of the tickets. They're not selling from it. And I think that's been one of the things I've heard over the years from many facilities was we don't want to give away what we're trying to sell. And
Absolutely.
And my takeaway from that is I can watch big money racing all day long. I still want to go to it. Now, mind you, that's from a participant standpoint, but even from an NHRA standpoint, I'll watch NHRA racing all day long. Watching it only makes me want to go to a race one day as a spectator, because probably not geared up to go with a car right now. More because it's an experience to see all that. You don't get to go in the pits when you're sitting at home. You don't get to wander around and see things. You don't have those interactions, but you can see what you're missing. And it's a great sales pitch, right? For that. And for those who can't make it, they don't feel excluded. Like you bring them into that community. And I think that's something the smaller regional series maybe miss out on, more
I agree.
than they could. And the local tracks at the larger facilities. I'm not saying every little track should have their own, but there's a reason that some of these big facilities that are doing it the smart way and having success are doing that, right? Vegas has a live stream for a reason, right? Rad Torque has a live stream for a reason. Mission has a live stream for a reason, and they do very well at it. And series have live streams for reasons. I'd love to see more of it done for either bigger events locally or just bigger tracks locally, picking up on that.
Even smaller tracks, right? Because there's always those family members or somebody around that loves to watch that and get more involved. And then, like I said, then they keep up with it. Then they want to, maybe they want to go spend the day there because they understand more of what's going on. So, yeah, those are the big takeaways from it. Andrew, anything else to add on the live streams?
I think that's covers a lot of what I want to roll through. I mean, other than, like we didn't really touch on favorite events or least favorite events type of thing, right? But I think we pretty much let that be known that the fling events are pretty much the go-to for
It's kind of, I don't think we had to tell anybody that.
No, but I think it's kind of one of those neat things in retrospect. When you get some downtime, you look at these things, just where we're at. We're very lucky as a sport to have what we have, right? I think we have a lot of either economical or free, looks into watching racing from across like the world, to be honest with you. I mean, you can watch Australian drag racing on YouTube. You can watch European drag racing. Santapod has a live stream. You can watch racing from. It's great to see how far it's come, and it's exciting to see where we can go with it, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest steps that, as the sport in general, should take and needs to take is we need to make this more accessible from all formats and angles to the general public. And I think we'd make more inroads on just how exciting it is what we do and how amazing it is, the type of sport that we have and the diversity of the sport, right? To do that.
Yeah.
And it's really not this big obstacle like it was, right? It's 2023. It's technology's come a long way, and it's much more accessible to be able to do this than it used to be.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it. I need to figure it out. I want to start. I've always wanted to broadcast live through Bracket Life for events around here and get that going. So, help out some different tracks with the platform that we have. So we'll see what happens. Maybe that's an idea we can work on over the winter of how Bracket Life can help, stream some events. But we will see what happens. That's about it for this week. Everybody, thanks for keeping up. It was cool. We got a lot of action in the chat there, both Facebook and YouTube. So, we are getting them all. We appreciate it. Love hanging. We don't get to address maybe every comment, but we do see them all. We do love it. When you guys are paying attention and keeping up with it. So it's really cool. So coming up, not a whole lot. I'm not sure who's got race banquets coming up, different things. I know we're going.
Yep.
I think we're going to the Luskville banquet this weekend.
Yeah, that's a Super Tour / Luskville.
Super Tour Luskville one yet.
Yep.
So we're doing that.
RCSS I know is coming up. Grand Bend, St. Thomas joint one. Not sure. Out west looked like they already had quite a few of their banquets and award ceremonies out already. So saw pictures, and then out east saw the pictures as well from our folks in the Maritimes. Yep. So, but I guess the big thing on the horizon is PRI and all the. It's about a month away. So that's kind of the next big milestone off season. Not that really into the off season. There's still a few races left that people are going to, but
I know a bunch of folks are headed to Florida this weekend or coming up. So, hopefully we have a bunch more results, the bracket racers and, the streetcar racers as, alike. So hopefully we have some good results. So we'll be paying attention to a lot of it. Remembrance Day coming up.
Yes. Saturday.
This week? Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
If you haven't got a poppy yet, then go grab one. I'm not really sure where to get one around Jasper, but I'll find one.
There'll be one located somewhere, but key thing to remember, right? I think it's a big day that sometimes gets lost in the shuffle of fall here a bit as we transition between seasons. But Remembrance Day is one of those days that's special that I think we need to kind of hammer home sometimes and remind people about. So important day coming up Saturday.
Absolutely. So keep up with that. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Andrew, for all this. Love doing it. Have a blast doing this. Thanks, everybody, keeping up, and thanks, KD Transmissions, for presenting it. Before I don't want to get carried away. People are gonna get upset about Christmas before Remembrance Day, right? Yeah. We addressed it. We know what's coming up. Christmas coming up. Any Bracket Life gifts you want to check out? Nice hat like absolutely. That. It looks nice.
Yep.
Check that out. Lots of options. Check out bracketlifebrand.com. We will see you all again in 2 weeks. Thank you. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Have a good